Origins First Builders is a game for 1 to 4 players with a playtime of 60 to 120 minutes, designed by Adam Krupinski and published by Board&Dice. Origins is a beautifully illustrated game in which the players take on the roles of ancient civilization. Now, the game takes place during an alternate history where the idea is that aliens have visited the Earth. There are motherships that have arrived and are ready to bestow humanity with gifts in the form of resources and knowledge, and simply helping the players to build up their civilizations. On your turn, you will be performing one of several different actions. Most of them will involve placing one of your workers on one of these encounter sites. Now, your workers come in the form of dice that are slotted into these population bases, and you can place your worker on any one of these encounter sites. Depending on the site that you choose, you'll then be either collecting some form of resources, sometimes a combination of resources, or you'll be performing actions where you often spend resources for various effects. Some of those effects involve advancing on the military track, which is where you will be competing against the other players to show off your military strength, again for victory points and for resources. But you will also be constructing buildings, which you add to your personal player area. You'll be advancing on one of the 3 temples, both for victory points at the end of the game, but also to compete with the other players for the zodiac cards that are laid out there at the beginning of the game. You can also spend actions to acquire more population bases, which will allow you to recruit more workers. At the end of every round, your workers that you have used, they will be aging and they will become more powerful on the following turn. Expanding your city is very important to achieve victory. You'll be doing so by acquiring additional buildings to add to the agora and the palace which you started the game with. Each time that you add a new tile to your city, you'll be activating its ability. And you'll continue to add different tiles, activating those abilities, and expanding your network, your city of tiles. You can also perform actions to close a district, and you do so by spending one of your workers and placing it in the middle of a district which consists of 4 building tiles. Doing so will both give you victory points at the end of the game equal to the pip value of that worker, but it will also activate all buildings that are adjacent to this closed district that are of the same color. So in this case, I used a blue worker, which means that I would get to activate both the obelisk and the mountain temple for their effects a second time. When closing a district, if the pattern of the district that you just formed matches one of the available district cards, you'll also score additional bonus victory points. Players can also take additional actions to add more tower discs to their palace. Each tower disc will act as a multiplier at the end of the game. During the endgame scoring, the pip value on your workers that have been used to close the districts will be multiplied by the height of the tower on your palace board. At the end of the game, not only will each player's city be evaluated, but you'll also score victory points based on how far you have advanced on the various temples. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points is the winner. Origins First Builders is a beautiful strategic Eurogame with vibrant colors and an amazing table presence. The game also features 2 different types of solo modes, a passive opponent and an active opponent, where the passive opponent allows you to play the game without having to manage the AI's actions, whereas the active AI gives you a much more competitive opponent, taking actions much like another player would.